15 years ago, I remember clutching my pillow in the middle of the night, shaking during an anxiety attack, and noticing in the beginning stages of my practice, suffering with a crippling case of generalized anxiety. I knew that if I could solve this dilemma, that one day I aspired to helping change the world with it. Today, I believe that I found the answer to what is the most common observed stress-related disorder that I've ever seen. On this episode of the Ask Dr. Nima Show, we're going to tackle anxiety not from a treatment, drug, or therapeutic standpoint, but more of an understanding, a conscious awareness, so that we can actually transcend it rather than focus on getting rid of it and treating it. Let's understand anxiety today on the Ask Dr. Nima Show. A little disclaimer here. I'm not speaking as a chiropractor. I'm not speaking as a Dr. Nima. I'm speaking as a human being, a former sufferer with a crippling case of anxiety, and I wanted to share with you the realization, the insight that I had about it, using a case study from one of my recent workshops of somebody who's been a sufferer for the past 20 years who overcame it with a few key important questions. Bring up a feeling that you felt in that scene.
In the panic? Well, I got woken up to a cold sweat.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was feeling nauseous, and my mind switched on. It was like I went from a state of sleep and peace to the chatter just was so loud, like it was just overwhelming with all the talking.
So now when you're looking and you go back there, I want you to go back there. Tell me what you were feeling.
I was feeling anxious, inadequate, and rejected.
Go into that moment and bring up the feeling of anxious. Feel it in your body. Tell me where it is when you feel it.
It's in my chest.
Good.
And in my stomach. It's always tight, and
bring it up and actually get into your body and feel those feelings. Carolyn contacted me a couple months ago saying that she'd been struggling with anxiety for 20 years. When we had our meeting, we discovered where it all came from. 20 years prior, she was bullied, and since that time, she'd been walking through her life living in fear of a panic attack for 20 years. A few days prior to her attending our workshop, she had a full-blown panic attack and used that as the topic of our overview during the workshop. Go into that moment and tell me where at that exact same moment you were feeling a sense of calm and peace.
I think I felt a sense of control because it was Sunday, and I knew I could control my day, and I knew what was coming with my day. So even though I was panicked, I was trying to counterbalance that with knowing that I had control over what was going to happen in my situation that day.
So you had a sense of calm with your schedule.
Yeah.
Did you also have a calm as far as your connection with your kids and your certainty about their lives and what they're doing?
Always.
Bring up that sense of peace that you felt about your kids in that moment. You knew they were going to be okay, right? You knew in that moment that they were fine, because in a panic you worry about your kids.
Yeah.
And then in a moment, what did you say about your kids in that moment?
Well, they were sleeping, so I knew they were safe.
Good. Bring that feeling of safety up in that moment of calm, that they were okay. Give me another negative emotion in that scene.
Just the physical body symptoms that I were having. Lower back pain.
Bring up the feeling of pain. Can you find if there is any pleasure within that feeling? Just kind of explore that.
I know it sounds so weird, but it was almost like a release. Okay, so I guess when I had my first panic attack, I was just so frightened. I was always trying to avoid
that feeling
again.
And
so I was always like
tense that it happened.
You know, like just knowing that I had it and it was okay. And
something you feared happened and it wasn't as bad as you thought.
Yeah, it was such a fear that when it actually happened, and within 10 minutes I had calmed myself down, I was like, oh my God.
I survived.
And 20 years I've been like...
fearing this.
Fearing this.
Is that so bad?
Oh my God, I know.
Where was your bravery in that moment of fear?
Being able to calm myself down. And being able to get through it, because the one that I had that was really bad when I was on the subway lasted probably 2 hours. And this one was maybe 20 minutes.
You've
you realize it's gotten better and you've gotten stronger.
Yeah, I have the tools to make it through.
Because you've studied them.
Yeah.
Cognitive behavioral, psychologist, counselor, even though they hadn't get you full relief, you at least had an understanding of what's happening.
Yeah.
Most people are trying to run away from symptoms of anxiety, whereas what I've observed when I'm working one-on-one with people is that when you run towards it, embrace it, and see how that monster has actually been your friend, you then start to see that the anxiety itself has actually been a gift.
What was the benefit of you going through the panic attack?
I was exhausted that day, so
Gave you an excuse to just self-care.
I really did. I slowed it down. I spent some time with my kids. My daughter and I were in her room. She wasn't feeling great, so we were cuddling and talking. The whole day seemed
I want you to
slower.
so you were more present.
Yeah,
Sit with that one for a minute.
yeah,
Can you see the anxiety served you to get you more present?
yeah.
I just want you to go back there and just get into your body and feel that bond with your daughter and the cuddling that you got to do that day because of it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Sit with that one for a minute. Would you have been able to have that bond with that if it wasn't for that anxiety attack?
Probably not like that.
If you didn't have anxiety, what would be the drawback to your bond with your kids?
Oh, I talked about this a lot. It would be huge. I wouldn't have the connection with them that I do. I wouldn't have been able to see it all happen and go through the good and the bad and the ugly the way I did because we wouldn't have been home.
And what would have been the drawback to the community who keeps coming to you guys as a resource?
It would have been awful. One of my daughter's best friends lost her mom 4 years ago, and it was a really, really awful experience.
What would be the drawback to her if you didn't have anxiety?
She's like my adopted daughter. I'm like her adopted mom. I don't think we would have that relationship.
Because you wouldn't be at home and being
I
able
wouldn't have
to...
been able to be there for her.
Can you see the rabbit hole she would have gone down if you weren't there for her?
Yeah,
Sit with that one for a minute.
yeah, that's huge. Yeah, she's a good kid.
Can you see that your anxiety was able to lift her up? Uplifting.
Yeah.
And how has your anxiety served your connection with helping youth?
Driving force.
Sit with that one for a minute.
The reason I do it.
Turns out that in Carolyn's case, this anxiety that she's been running around trying to do therapy on for 20 years, counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever it is that she's been trying to get rid of, actually introduced her to her mission and purpose on this earth.
What would have been the drawback to your world without anxiety?
I think if I didn't have it, I would have been really unhappy because I probably would have followed a path or a career that just made it, you know, like a robot. You're just in the grind and you're just doing your
No
thing.
meaning.
No meaning. Not at all.
Has this given your life meaning?
Yeah.
You were afraid of anxiety, and now you know there's nothing to fear about anxiety.
It's amazing.
Do you notice when you're serving that there's no anxiety?
No, there's no vertigo either.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
It's not a disorder, it's a barometer.
Yeah. It's making me check myself. Yeah.
Back to center, back to serving, back to meaning.
Yeah. I love the way you think. It's just so wonderful. Thank you very much. You've given so many people so many gifts.
So the take-home point here is this: anxiety, like sunburn, is an effect. You can't get rid of sunburn if you've been sitting in the sun. Similarly, you cannot get rid of anxiety if you are lying to yourself, you're not being real, and you're holding on to a resentment from your past, expecting that thing to go away or affirm it or yoga it away or meditate it away. It's actually wiser to go back and find how all of those resistances and resentments actually served you, so that you can see your anxiety as a barometer, as a feedback mechanism for your strength, for your perseverance, for your service and your mission on this planet. And without turning that tiger around and befriending that tiger, it will chase you for the rest of your life. Make friends with your anxiety. See how it served you so that you can finally dance with it rather than run.
Can you just go back to what your life was like before and then after that session?
I was triggered all the time. It was every moment of my waking day. I was in my head. I was living in fear. I didn't know what I was afraid of at the time. I didn't enjoy my moments. I wasn't in what I like to refer to as a precious present moment at all. I was totally missing out on opportunities with my kids and my husband and everything. It was horrible. And it got to a point right before I came to see you where I was ready to crash. I was at my breaking point. So coming to see you and doing the overview and going through the fact that it is not a devastating, horrible disorder, it ended up being a gift. And I recognize that it brought me to all the places where I should and shouldn't have been my whole life.
Greatest gift I can imagine. So thank you so much for being a part of it.
If you're open to going to a place where you need to find out what's causing it, the root of where it's coming from, if you're ready to heal, if you're ready to take a step into your own life and get your life back, like, do it. Because the best thing ever. Seriously, the best thing ever. Yeah, the fog is gone. It's amazing.
Thanks for participating. I appreciate having you.
For doing this.